Good morning, it's Brian. You are on the Art of Startup War, and today we are going to talk with exactly what you want us to talk with. We're going to talk with a future unicorn. Now, what does that mean? That means that we, as Expert Dojo, do one thing, only one thing. Like, we have literally nothing else that we need to be successful at. And that is that we find incredible founders. And as soon as we find those founders, we snatch them, we invest in them, and we thank the Lord above that we have been able to get involved with this company, because we feel that the company is going to be able to build up to a few $1,000,000 a month or more, and hence become a unicorn. And as a unicorn, then it rains money for us all. It is a beautiful thing. So on this show, over the next 30 minutes, the entire focus is sharing with you as much of the diligence that we went through to make the epic decision that we made in this case, so you can actually do exactly the same thing yourself, and you get a really good feel for the company. And if it's something that, like us, that you say, hey, I want to invest in, I think this is awesome, then you should invest. And if you feel that you want to let other folks know about it, then you should let other folks know. And if you feel that you can help the company and get involved with the company, well, you should do that. So welcome to the show. It is great to have Kishi in the house. And if anybody's watching this on YouTube, you can see this awesome t-shirt. Hey, thank you for joining us, man.
Yeah, thank you so much, Brian. Glad to be here and really, really excited to be part of Expert Dojo. Yeah, I think what we're building is for the world. I'm here to tell you all about it. But yeah, I'm so pleased to be part of the program. And yeah, I mean, getting all the advice from you, just so geared up. Really excited.
I love it. Take us right back to the beginning when you came up with the genesis of the idea right at the start. Share with us what that was like.
Right. Oh, wow. So this is going back a while now. So Kishi has been in my brain and has bugged me. The whole idea of Kishi has bugged me for at least 12 years now. And it's really interesting that you see a lot of startup ideas today that, you could just think about it and build it right now in this day and age, because a lot of the technology is there. But, Kishi was one where I had foreseen what needed to be built, but the technology just wasn't there back then. And so it was a matter of kind of just waiting. But the way it kind of started off was, it's just helping Africans send money to and from Africa. And I think, so I'm a British Nigerian. I lived in the UK. Well, I grew up in Lagos, but I've lived in the UK for the past 23 years or so. And it is one big challenge that lots of Africans have, and which is sending money back home. And it's really, really expensive. I think, I sort of finally decided to do it because I was that person, that guy who used to help people send money to and from Africa. There's a local slang in Nigeria called aboki, which is, this intermediary that you have that helps you send money to and from Africa. And so for me, I became that sort of, let's say, sophisticated aboki, based in London. I knew all the ins and outs about how to spend money and help people spend money in the safest way, of course. And, but I found that, there's just no way for me to do this in a very scalable way. How can I build this in a scalable way? And so I decided to found Kishi. And, but like I said, the technology wasn't there. But, I had to wait about 5-6 years before we had all of the payment processes and a lot of the other things that we have today that enabled Kishi. And so as soon as that sort of came together, I just started putting the dots, and then finally was able to launch Kishi. And we had a test, a mobile web app, which is our MVP back in 2020. I could go on and tell you the rest of the story, but I could do it.
Yeah, share with me a little bit of the difficulty.
But yeah.
Yeah, share with me a little bit of the difficulty that you had in actually building this at the start and getting it ready, because it's really hard. Like, for those folks who have not invested in Africa, it's really interesting what's happening over here. You've got one of the fastest growing demographics. You've got the fastest growing middle class. You've got the youngest population in the world. You have an actually really sophisticated digital currency environment, more sophisticated than anywhere else in the world, except maybe outside China. But at the same time, the infrastructure is not sophisticated. It's almost like the perfect possible sandbox for innovation because you got the people who are like, dude, what the hell? Like, we're ready for this. You have like a world
Yeah.
whereby they're ahead of everybody else. Like, we're leapfrogged in how people are spending money over there, but the infrastructure is broken. And so, talk to us about like why this is such a huge opportunity and why other folks haven't been able to fix this properly, and how you built the technology that was able to do it. So, look, this for me is really exciting because if I think back about like, whether it's Irish or whether it's Africans, the one thing that we've done almost since the beginning of time is travel around the world for one reason or another, right? It's either we got like we're struggling for food, or we're struggling for famines, or we're struggling for something.
Right.
And we have more of a population almost outside than we have inside, which speaks to your point earlier on about the fact that literally a third of the entire population of the world by the end of the century is going to be African. But
Yeah.
another thing that we have tremendously in common is that we never had a financial vehicle to take with us. Like, there's literally
Exactly.
nothing truly
Exactly.
that feels Irish around the world when that I would have pride in, or that I would want to be a part of. And it's very true. There's nothing African. Well, like when people leave Africa, they leave Africa. Like they
They
literally
leave.
have to
Yeah.
adopt everything
They
that
leave.
comes beyond that. And so
They leave everything.
what you're building, and I want you to run
Mm.
through it. I want you to run through the evolution of it because it is
Yeah.
awesome, right? You start with the payments. That
Yeah.
becomes your Trojan horse. And you say to people,
Hmm.
look, guys, it's crazy the fact that you can't make payments between different countries, and you got kickbacks on cards and you get high charge. Like, it's just crazy, right? So we're going to fix that for
Yeah.
you, and we're going to facilitate a glue that will
Yeah.
start to bring Africans together. But I also want you to delve into how you then take those same people and say, by the way, as you move around the world to all these places, you're going to take Kishi with you, and Kishi is going to be
Yeah.
a piece of Africa that you will never leave behind. It will be the thing that makes you feel like you are still part of your own. Talk to us about the
Absolutely.
evolution and how you go from country to country and how you build
Yeah.
this thing into the greatest friggin'
Yeah.
neobank stroke payment center stroke financial services center that the
Yeah.
world has ever seen.
Indeed. Well, okay. So it initially started off with just money transfer, and we wanted to do it in a very, very simple way. But what we stumbled upon was the fact that we then had to build um, multi-currency accounts with the way the model works, and that just, I mean, and then all of a sudden we had a neobank in our hands, and we thought, wow, okay, so now we have people, we can issue accounts, we can move money for them internationally. Well, there's so many other use cases here. There's so many other ways in which we could connect them a lot better. Actually helps, continue to provide them with financial services, both at home, wherever they call home, maybe in Africa, but also wherever they now reside. And we can do that through excellent partnerships that we've got in different jurisdictions. So, hey, it started off with just wanting to help people move money to and from Africa. But then instantly we saw, well, we can offer other form of payments. And so we're about to launch, the first version of the payment facility within the platform, which is coming out middle of December, and that's Kishi Connect. And I came up with that brilliant sort of feature. But it is really for us to do that, for us to connect Africans and keep them connected back home, so that when they go away, they can still be sending money back and forth. They can manage their financial affairs back home, where they now reside. They can take their credit with them if possible, and also access financial services wherever and not have that limitation as they normally do. Or whether it's, cards, or whether it's investments back home. I mean, a lot of people feel that even though they might be in places like the UK, Europe, or US, a lot of them still find that some of the best investment opportunities are back home. And so when they're making money in pound sterling or US dollars or Canadian dollars, they'd love to be able to send these money back home, maybe even domiciled in those hard currencies still, but still getting excellent, much better returns than they would have been getting if they put it in a savings account in the UK. And so this is what we are, the foundation of what Kishi is building. And yes, we are moving from one. I mean, naturally, it started off with the UK, where I'm of course a resident and a national, but instantly we saw that we can duplicate this in the States. We can duplicate this in Europe. We can take this to Canada. And so, it's great that we have a lot of these fintech as a service, banking as a service, and a lot of banks that are very open to innovations. I mean, I was in Money 2020 just last week and had this really, interesting conversation with a gentleman from Goldman, and they were so excited about what the opportunity is here to, impact Africans in the States or in Canada, and how we could really bring all of the best financial services to them through Kishi. And so, yeah, I mean, it's where we're going across the world. Of course, right now we're operating across UK and 22 African countries, but really, really excited about the US market, which is by far the biggest for us. And we're launching in there next week. So really, really excited to be doing that. I'm going to be spending a lot of time in the States next year. So many communities that we need to reach and meet and just really showcase Kishi. And so I'm really, really excited about that.
It's huge. And like, two true stories. On Wednesday evening, over here at Expert Dojo, probably had about 300 people in the Web3 space, local Web3 folks, and we were just talking about a bunch of different things on a panel. And I stood up in front of the people and I said, look, totally randomly, but just to help you guys out so you know what's happening, what do you all believe that we as Expert Dojo, as one of the most prolific investors in the world right now, we're investing in like 100 plus companies a year. I said, what do you think that we believe is the sexiest space in the world for investment? And literally first hand went up and said, fintech in Africa. Literally the first hand, like, this is randomly in Santa Monica with a bunch of folks who are like in the metaverse. Like, they are literally the furthest away. Like, for somebody not to say crypto first was bizarre for me. But like, they launched in with fintech in Africa. Sexiest space in the entire world for investors to get return, fintech in Africa. And yesterday evening, I was over at an event where there was probably like 50, 60 investors there. You had some big investors like Guggenheim family and a bunch of other folk, huge. I would say in the room in deployable funds, there was probably $200-400 billion. Like, it was just a big room. And I said the same thing. I said, I'm giving you all a tip. You all feel like you got a ton of cash and you all feel like you're spending your money well and you're investing well. But if you're not looking in Africa and you're not looking at fintech, you're gonna be crying in your soup in 2-3 years time because you missed it. Like, the moment is now. It's like right now. It's not in a year, not 2, not 3 or 4. It's right now for immeasurable returns back for shareholders and everybody else. So I love what you're doing. I mean, and I really, like, I love what you're doing. I love your strength of how you're coming at this. I love your ambition. It's just like, you're seriously obsessive. You make me look like I don't have issues, and that's a really bad thing. So I want you to talk to us a little bit about you and what drives you. And I want you to talk about your team and how you pulled your team together, because you are like catching leaves in autumn here. Like, it is a huge monster that you're doing. So nobody listening to this is going to think, I don't know, Brian, is this a big market? Like, they're all going to be saying, don't even ask if it's a big market. Okay, don't waste your time. We just want to know, how the hell is this dude going to be able to like conquer this universe that's being created? So hit us.
So I'm an obsessive person when it comes to problem solving. So I have a math background, and I recall very vividly when I'd been in college. And though I'd like to think I was one of the cool kids then, but you got me in a very, very geeky, nerdy state when you passed me a question that everyone else is struggling to answer. And once I got that question, I'll be there trying to solve it until I solve it. And I got really, really excited about that. So I think it goes back to that. Like, I always knew that I would be looking to solve one of Africa's biggest challenges. So even though I moved to the UK at a young age, at 16, but I did know that whatever I was going to be building, I was going to want to build some of the biggest problems that face Africans globally. And so this was one that I saw that I thought, right, this is it. And of course, I also believe I'm an incredibly driven person. I do want to be successful. I do want to make a huge impact on this world. But I can't do it by myself. And so, my team is made up, of course, a diverse team of Africans, but across the board, folks who have all worked at unicorns, whether that's in Africa, whether that's in the diaspora. Myself, I worked with a company that was an early stage company in 2007, and it became a unicorn. And I worked alongside the CEO, Mark Hare, great guy, great mentor of mine. And we were the sales team. And so I'd like to think of myself as a leader. I lead an incredible bunch of folks who are very, very mission driven about what we're trying to do. Folks who have been tapped up or tried to be tapped up by some of the biggest companies in this world and asked to relocate to certain other parts of the world, offered multiple times their salaries, and they've declined because they believe in what we're trying to do. And so, we're a team of about 25 people, but we're growing pretty fast. But my leadership, absolute monsters. So good at what they do, whether that's in compliance, whether that's in product, in marketing, in strategy. I don't know everything. And so I'm really, really, really happy to have these folks who have been there and done it all. Some of the biggest banks in the world, some of the biggest tech companies in the world. And so together, we're going to do this. We're already doing it. Really, really excited about, what we're going to be doing.
And then what does that growth look like? Like normally, by the way, I'm saying, so tell me, how do you grow from like 2,000 to 10,000 to 10,000 to 100,000? Like, I don't care. Like, it's irrelevant. Like, because it's so obvious that if the execution happens, that this is like tens, hundreds of millions of dollars in revenue. Like, it's so obvious. If you're an investor and you're listening and it's like it's not obvious, then you're on the wrong podcast. Okay, you should jump over to a different one, right? So, but I do think that the only thing that anybody's looking at here is the execution. Is like, how do you execute? Like, what does it look like? Are you going to be? How much money are you raising right now? And how many team members are you going to hire? And like right now, you're looking at the payments, right? The payments is your big baby. Like that's the one that you want to make sure is like monstrously successful. And sort of where are you on the execution journey of that? And what does 2023 look like, I suppose, is the all-encompassing question that covers all of that.
Yeah, absolutely. So I was speaking to a potential investor only 2 days ago. I said to him, hey, we processed just over $60 million in about 17 months or so. We've been growing around 30% month to month on average. User base is just over 72,000. And I said to him, like, we've hardly spent money on marketing. We've almost done nothing. We've been experimenting with certain things, but what has helped us grow that much is really our customers, our users. Like they get so crazy and excited about it once they experience it that they go tell everyone. So that's we found to be excellent for us, right? But of course, it's not enough. I've seen the way some of the biggest tech companies, especially fintech in this sort of space, have grown. And we've got to incentivize folks, through things like referrals. There's a huge strategy around, influencers in Africa, outside of Africa. Entertainment, African entertainment right now is one of the biggest things across the world. By far, it is the fastest growing genre across the world. Influencers affiliating with folks in that space, they really can touch everyone across the world. And so, we're putting together an awesome crack team of folks. Next year, we're absolutely going to blow it away. We're, of course, raising our seed round currently, $3 million. We've got some excellent guys in Africa and some of the biggest institutional investors in the States as well who want to be part of what we're building. We're really excited about that. But we believe that we will need to turn up the notch on that growth a whole lot more, probably by middle of next year, when we hope to raise the Series A. And that will then, I think, no one can ignore us at that point. I think anyone, whether it's Revolut, whether it's Wise, whether it's Western Union, or whoever it is, will have taken note at that point that, right, don't touch these guys. Therefore, Africans, they can't be messed with. They're the fastest growing people in the world. And so, yeah, we're really, really positioning ourselves for that. We have already, spoken to a whole bunch of investors, the sort of folks who, will come in at the next round, who are writing a $5 to $10 million check minimum, and they see what we're building, and they're ready to be part of that. So, I think for us, we're going to raise this, close it out pretty soon, and then over the next 6 to 9 months or so, just execute. We're really excited about that.
And what do you believe? And sorry, the current round is how much are you raising?
$3 million US dollars.
Very good. And then that will take you to, so you've already said Series A next year, which is really, it's what every investor wants to hear, right? When an investor feels, we're going to come in at seed and you're going to get a Series A next year, awesome. We know our valuation is going to jump up by a couple of times, which is all anybody wants. Really, the job of any investor is only to make sure that another investor takes it over at the next round, right? And that they can get to the next round, and then so on and so on, it grows. So talk to us about what that 3 million will do next year. Like, how do you see the revenue growing? Where do you think we'll be at? You're already doing a ton of transactions. And as you've said, you're doing hardly any marketing. So I am sure that you're going to say to me, Brian, we get that 3 million in, we're going to war. Like, then it begins. Like, we hit marketing hard and everything else. But give us a couple of specifics of how that looks like, so people can kind of paint a picture of it.
Sure. Okay. So we would be doing between June and September next year, by which time we believe we would be raising and closing a Series A. We will be doing between 250,000 MRR by June of next year. September, we'll be doing around 450,000 MRR by the end of September. And then by the end of the year, we should be on at least 800,000 MRR. And so for us, again, next year is very critical. I mean, from the jump, December will be a huge splash already, because it always is with Africa in December. People are going home. So many things are happening. But, we're really, really firing things off from November, from next month into the new year. And it's really just a case of, I wouldn't say blitzscaling, but certainly, just going as hard, because this is a land grab. I mean, we're already seeing folks who might be trying to imitate, wondering, how are these guys doing it? But there's a secret sauce, and I have that because, again, my experience and my base in the UK, this isn't something that you could just think of while you're sitting in Lagos or wherever it is and replicate. It isn't as, and I also have, great relationship skills, and I've been able to grow, get very, very good relationships with some of the most well-known guys in this space, including like the Wise, who we would otherwise have competed with, but we would actually be collaborating with. So we've got, something that we would be doing that's really, really special with Wise. And so, so next year for us, it's about hitting those metrics. But, again, we're really, really, really more excited about us impacting the Africans in the diaspora, Africans in Africa, bringing them world-class financial services. And really, that's really it for us. And it's, in order for us to provide that and at that scale, then of course, we need to go hard on the marketing. We need to go hard on partnerships, on building out the products. And these are the things that we're really, really aiming to do in the next couple of months.
Yeah, that's awesome. And it's really funny. I love Africa and I love investing in Africa. And normally I love investing in Africans who are in Africa. But in your particular case, I think it's very brilliant the fact that you're positioning yourself in an international location, because it's the problem that you're solving. Right. The problem you're solving is not African people like dealing with fintech in Africa. The problem is African people everywhere, the diaspora all over the world, who actually want to be able to interact with each other and with individual countries in Africa. And that's broken. Exactly. And you need to be in a foreign place so you can live the problems that they are living every single day. So I think that's very cool that you've done that, and that most of your team are over in Africa and functioning in Africa and taking care of Africans. And then as you build and you get stronger, you then start layering on African people everywhere. So this becomes this brand of pride and this brand of reliability tied into the same thing, which is really all it does. It enhances the pride of people that like what they have is functioning really well. So I absolutely love it. Look, finish us off with, as I said, team, you've nailed.
Yeah.
The market fit, like forget about it. Like it's obvious. Like if you're not getting the market fit right now, read up on Africa. Like it'll be super obvious where it is. Your
Yeah.
ability to execute is beyond reproach, right? Because you've done it already. The scaling blitz plan, which it is very much blitz scaling, the kind of things that you're describing here, because it is a land grab and it's a technology play,
Yeah.
but it's a brand play on top of the technology play. You got to make people fall in love with you first, not with like the other
Yep.
folks that will come out at this. I also feel from a competition perspective, you're very safe. Like the competitors, I haven't come across anyone who's going after the same methodology in the same space. I haven't, and nor do they even
Yep.
want to play with it. And I think you brought up a very relevant point earlier on when you said, look, we're weak until we're not weak anymore, right? So we're now like 18 months ago, we were weak. Okay, we were starting. We had this idea. We had a little bit of technology. We were starting to break through. We were weak. Like that was a time when we could
Mm.
have been attacked. But now that we're coming up
Yeah.
towards Series A, nobody's going to mess with us because we'll have
Yep.
such a strong user base. Why do you want to? It's easier to partner with us and have us as your
Yep.
trusted friend that's going to help you break
Exactly.
into more regions. So I think 2023, if like one year in China was the year of the dog or the year of the cat, I think 2023 for you is going to be the year of the partnerships. I think more and
Yes.
more of these people are going to say, oh my God, like, how did we not notice what is happening with Africans? Not even Africa,
Yep.
like Africans all over
Yep.
the world. We want in.
Exactly.
And we're going to partner with the people who are going to do it. Hey, man, listen, if this
Definitely.
accelerator thing doesn't work out, I want a job, okay? Because I really do
Yeah,
believe.
definitely. You could be our official spokesperson. Right.
I believe you nailed it. I do. I think you've got like a product fit from heaven, and I think you're executing on a beautiful way. Finish us off by just sharing with the audience. Like, let's take the last 2 or 3 minutes. We want to make sure they get your email, and we want to because we want to make sure that investors can connect with you. Only real investors, though. Don't waste
So,
his time, please. Unless you're like really looking at investing, or unless you're looking at bringing in partnerships or assistance or help or something else which is
yeah.
going to drive this company forward. But just give us like 2 or 3 minutes as to why all of the investors who are drooling right now, why they should trust you to be able to build this company to become one of the biggest fintech companies the world has ever seen.
Yep. Okay. So, you nailed it there. I mean, we want people. I mean, we know there's a lot of money out there, and I could literally walk, I'm sure, the streets of Silicon Valley and have $500,000 just dropped in out of people's pockets, and in a second. But we want people who want to help us actually really, really build something that Africans can take pride in globally, and of course, building one of the biggest uh, startups and companies in Africa in tech. Well, led by Africans, of course. And so it gave me a lot of joy and a lot of pride that a lot of our earlier investors in our pre-seed 2 years ago, and a lot of the guys who had written smaller checks for us at the earliest stage of our seed fundraising were people who had used Kishi and literally found me on LinkedIn or wherever, and then reached out to me and said, "Hey, Ayo, I love what you're building. I want to be part of it." And writing me a check of 25, 50, 100K. And that was really, really, really special for me because people who had that much wealth. I mean, you think these guys are really, really smart. I'd like to think they are. They used it and they experienced it and they thought, you know what, this is going to be special. And they funded us because of that. And so as much as we would love to have, anyone, give us money and reach our target, but we really want guys who want to bring, like you said, help us. Yes, we are the most passionate about what we're trying to build, but we also could do with a lot of the experience that these investors could bring. So yeah, bring us your experience, bring us your network, bring us the partnerships, global partnerships, and yeah, we can definitely execute. I mean, we're doing it already, but we will. I had quite a bit of money before from my previous employment. I put money in it because I believed in what we were doing, and I just didn't feel like throwing that money away. I mean, certainly my wife would have killed me if I did, but we are here to execute. And so, definitely want to invite the most, what would be very, very valuable investors to us. You can reach me. My email address is ayo, AYO, at Kishi, KYSHI.co. So that's ayo, AYO, at KYSHI.co. My email is open. You get a response from me, especially if you're about to write me a check. I will send you an email back probably within 5 minutes. So, and if you'd love to speak to me one-on-one, yes, more than happy to. But thank you so much for this opportunity, Brian. Really,
Wonderful.
really amazing.
Thank you, my friend, and thank you for allowing us to invest in you. It's I feel
Yeah.
privileged to be with you on the journey, man. Really, for real. And I want to just say two
Thank
things
you.
to investors listening. Like, number one is we've invested. I'm not here saying to you, oh, we think this is a good company. Oh, this is a pitch event. No. I'm just sharing my journey with an incredible company that we've had the privilege of investing into. And I want to share that love with other folks outside who are also looking for great companies, right? That's the first thing. The second thing is you should always do your own diligence and check them. Like, I'm sharing our diligence here. And a lot of the questions I'm asking now, I needed one meeting to decide that we wanted to invest in this company, right? That was how easy it was for me. But we did deep diligence on the back of that. And you should all do the same thing and make sure that you guys are covered and everything is right. But we like this one. Lots. Okay? Just hear it here. Okay. Io, thank you, man. I appreciate it, brother. You're doing awesome.
Thank you so much.
Executing like a beast. Keep doing what you're doing. Keep flying the flag. And we'll be right there by your side all the way.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Brian. Appreciate the time. And yeah, thank you, everyone listening. Speak to you soon. Bye-bye now.